Okay. The meeting is called to order at 3:04 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, City and County of San Francisco, Education.
On the call of the roll, Member David.
Aye. Here.
David present. Member Oka.
Present.
Oka present. Member Highland.
Present.
Highland present. Member Fisher.
Present.
Fisher present. Chair Pilpel.
Present.
Pilpel present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. In terms of agenda changes, I was intending to take the agenda in the order presented. Seeing no comments or objections, we'll proceed to item 2.
Item number 2, file number 13082, hearing on the status of the order of determination. Gonzalo Javier Ferreira against City Attorney Dennis Herrera and Deputy City Attorney Paula Jensen, City Attorney's Office, for violating Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.21D for failure to respond in a timely manner to requests for determination of the status of certain records being public or not, public documents or not.
Great. I was not at the hearing at the full task force on this item, so I don't know Mr. Ferreira. Is Mr. Ferreira present? Yes. Great. Why don't we start with you? If you can give us an update from your perspective on anything that's happened since the initial hearing, that would be helpful, and then we'll go to Ms. Jessen for her side and have some discussion.
If I please the Commission, I'm Gonzalo Ferrer. I have no knowledge of any update to anything since the last hearing. That's all.
Thank you. That's very good. Okay. If there are questions, any questions for Mr. Ferrer at this point?
Mr. Ferrer, I just refresh our memory. If I remember correctly, that you did get everything, all the information and all the materials you were looking for. It was just a question of that it took much longer than.
Yeah, it took
right?
59 days instead of the statutory 10 days, and actually that affected me greatly.
Okay, but you are in possession. I just want to make clear that you are, or I just want to ask that there's no additional information or materials that you're looking for.
I have not requested, no. It took just 59 days.
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep.
And further to clarify to Mr. Ferrer, as I understand, one of the major issues was that you were not notified that there was going to be additional time needed.
I was not notified until I made a complaint to the Commission. There was no expectation of any timeliness on the river.
Okay, so we'll explore that with Ms. Jessen in a moment. Thank you. Any other speakers in support of the complainant while we do that? Seeing none, Ms. Jessen?
Good afternoon, Paula Jessen, Deputy City Attorney.
Great, welcome. Do you want to just give us your perspective very briefly on where we're at, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions and discussion? Sure.
It's quite accurate that it took longer than the 10 days under 6721D. It was generally when there are, I must say, I would say in most cases, we're able to make the 10 days. Some cases, it just takes longer than that to do what we feel is an adequate job of researching it and doing the analysis and making sure we've listened, considered all the factors, and come up with the right decision. It also takes a long time. Anytime you do something in writing, I find it's both better because it makes you think through the issues better. It makes you get the facts correct, and you don't start out with a false premise or on the wrong facts, and that there's no gaps in your logic and your reasoning. So I've been with the City Attorney's Office for a long time. I've been doing the supervisor of records, 6, 7 years, I think.
Also a long time.
Also a long time at that. And I am proud of the products that we produce as supervisor of records. I think they're thoughtful, they're extensive, one can pick them up, understand the facts, understand the reasoning. I think it helps, and generally the people who receive them understand why they may disagree, but at least they understand why. And it provides a better product and something useful for everyone. It is also, Mr. Fair is correct that I did not communicate to him. There were some initial exchanges. I was with him, as I am with most petitioners, good about acknowledging receipt of information and answering questions as we go along, but I did not let him know. The last communication I had before he filed his complaint was, thanks for this additional information that he had sent me, because there was a series of communications, and as soon as the review is done, we'll let you know. And I had not gotten back. I did not estimate a time. And since Mr. Fair brought this up, we are doing that more. Not more. We're following it as much as we can. Sometimes it's hard to estimate, but we understand that in this case, for example, I think we changed our estimate. We said we think it'd be X date, and we had to say now it looks like Y date. And so sometimes it's just complicated enough, takes long enough that it takes too long. So that's the status from my point of view.
Great, thanks. I've got some questions in a moment. Any members' questions right now? Okay. Hold on one second. Let's just see if there are any other speakers in support of the city attorney on this. Seeing none. So back to Ms. Jessen. So I just want to be clear. We're not telling you what to do at all. That's not my intent. I don't think that's what we do here. We're asking you how things work, and to the extent that we make suggestions, please take them in that way. We're making suggestions. You can think about them. Do as you see fit. Can you just walk back? Apparently my time is up. I agree with that. Can you just walk back a little bit on the process in general when you get a petition, how, in broad terms, obviously each one is different. There are all kinds of facts and circumstances, but what the process is that you use to notify and acknowledge, and I just want to talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, most are email, and so it's easy to send an email back right away acknowledging it. Sometimes they're U.S. mail, and those, if I think I can just answer it in 10 days, I usually just wait. If there's a question or need more information, or sometimes I'll acknowledge it by U.S. mail and say, well, you'll be getting a written determination. Sometimes you can tell from the email or from the U.S. mail that it doesn't fall within our jurisdiction, that it's something outside what we do, falls within the Sunshine Ordinance. And again, those, if they're U.S. mail, I'll just answer it within the 10 days. The process generally is once we get a petition, I let the department know as quickly as I can, and so I can find out any information that the petitioner hasn't provided, and I can talk to them and find out from their perspective what's going on. Sometimes it's just the left hand maybe not knowing what the right hand's doing, or materials crossing the mail. Sometimes they are clear on why they've withheld, and they have a practice of it, so we consider that. So as you say, it depends on the facts. Some are simple, some are complicated, like this one was.
Okay. And we're not asking to review these, but I'm just wondering if you have that process, at least to the extent that you just sort of explained it, in writing anywhere within your office? Maybe,
no.
Maybe not? Okay.
We have not put that in writing.
Okay. Just as a suggestion, that might be a good idea. The bad news for the city is you're probably not going to be doing this forever, and I'm sad about that. But, it would be good, and I know your office is very much about consistency, so to the extent that you've worked to create a process that makes sense, having someone else be able to view that. And there are instances when you're unavailable
Correct.
and someone else has to perform the function.
Yes.
So some consistency there, I think, would be good. Although it's probably not technically required under the ordinance, it's probably a good idea in this case, given what we understand happened going forward, to just give an acknowledgement letter or email, however the thing came in, saying what date you received the thing, that it's being processed. If it appears that it's beyond your jurisdiction, you'll let them know early rather than later, et cetera, just so that they have an acknowledgement, and to the extent that you have an estimate, it appears that we will be able to provide a determination within 10 days. If this changes, we will advise you to, right? Something so that you're just sort of confirming the status as you go along. And if it changes, right, we've got new information, it's going to require further analysis, blah, blah, blah. Our new estimate is blah, please stay in touch. Just those kind of status updates are probably just a good idea. I think would have certainly helped in this case. My understanding, and we'll confirm this with Mr. Ferrer, Member David already asked, he did receive the determination. I don't know if he took issue with the determination itself, but that's really not an issue before us. It's just ensuring that the requester is actually getting the determination and the response, effectively, the response to their petition. So those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And that kind of works?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other member questions right this moment? Member Highland?
I'm actually a little disappointed that you don't have something in writing. It's been a couple of months. It would have been nice to see a memo or something to the effect showing that, please, moving forward, take these steps.
I understand that. I think, when I work part-time, and so I'm gone part of the year, and I think probably because I'm the one who's there consistently, and when I leave, then I tend to write notes and write up procedures, and so the next time I go away, then I would write something up. But that's probably why, sort of the practical explanation of why we haven't done anything.
Yeah, and again, not to set you unnecessary homework or anything, but our order of determination did specify additional training, and if it's just a conversation, I don't really think that's training. So if you'd be willing, this is just a request, not an order, but when you do put something in writing, would you be kind enough to forward that to us, to this body, so we have it on record in case we're hearing similar matters regarding your department down the road.
I understand. Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense, and I assume that there will be nothing attorney-client privilege or attorney work product. I mean, it is certainly the work product of an attorney.
Be a procedural issue, yes.
Yeah, but on this thing, it's a procedural matter. And for that matter, if you're going to go through that effort to write that up, which I think we would appreciate, adding a section about the annual tally and report, which we still need to hear from last year, and
Correct.
we will at some point, and the portion of that report that includes court cases that are not petitions, just so that one can sort of see in a few pages, because I mean, the work that you do is important and detailed and good. The procedures around it are probably not that extensive.
Informal.
Right. So reducing that to a few pages so someone can say, this whole 21D or E, wherever it is, supervisor of records process, how the heck does that work from start to finish, right? One should be able to reduce that to a few pages. It's a lot of work, but just explaining that shouldn't be. Does that make sense, Member Highland? Okay. Members? With that, why don't we take a moment to see if there's public comment? Actually, why don't we hear from Mr. Ferrer before we go to public comment?
I would like to remind the Commission that the determination of the prior Commission was that the determination was not made during the first 10 days as per the ordinance. And changing anything on the ordinance and allowing for more time would be absolutely distorting the ordinance. That's a reminder. So I don't think that the procedures should include allowance for more time, discretionary allowance for other time, because if you allow that discretionary time for more time, it would apply to any part of the ordinance, not only the supervisor of records. So the immediate disclosure would be absolutely baseless. And any other term in the ordinance would be baseless. The people of San Francisco need to understand that they need a determination within 10 days. And if there is something to be done about it, they might change the ordinance. But the ordinance cannot be changed by a simple regulation, internal regulation. That's my take on the problem. Because we expose exactly the commission to be hearing the same kind of things 3 months, 6 months from now. And if it is discretionary, the 10 days are discretionary, then why not 3 months? Why not 2 years? I cannot reply to you until 6 months from now. And the essence of the ordinance is immediacy, is the need to count with certain documents from the city of San Francisco within a certain time. And information is a perishable good. Information not timely is useless. That's what I would like to remind the commission.
All right.
Thank you.
Your points are well taken. I think there may be some follow-up questions. Member David? No?
I mean,
You were thinking.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that as a commission, I would not say that we are in 100% agreement with. I think that there were people. I remember the case very well. There were people who were 100% in agreement with the way that you just presented it. That it's a 10-day, and I think that there are others of us who would like to see communications happen with people who are requesting information within that 10-day period. But I think that it just. To me, it strikes that there are certain issues that are going to be more complicated than others. And to just say, blanketly, everything has to be, having the time frame rule the quality of the information that's getting out to the public, I'm not sure that works in the public's favor either. That's
I would like to reply. Ms. Paolo-John,
Sure.
She's working part-time. I don't think these needs of City of San Francisco are served by having no staff working in the department. So we're not talking about complicated issues. We're talking about not having enough staff. And the department have never requested for more budget or more staff, publicly at least. So that 10 days is... The determination was made over the 10 days, and the majority determined 10 days was required. That was nothing non-negotiable. So I would really see a decision over here that would overturn the decision of the other commission over the 10 days, very unfavorable.
That's not what we're doing.
Right.
In fact, Ms. Jessen, could I speak to you again directly? Just 1 second. And this will answer your question. I just want to make sure that, make it clear, what I was referring to was your department's handling of an IDR, and just to make sure that there are procedures in place for
the immediate disclosure request?
Yeah, the fact that, on September 9th, Mr. Ferrer filed it. There wasn't even an answer to the 27th. The answer was incomplete. So I'm looking at the crux of the case there that...
But the IDR, the records request was to GSA. The department was GSA.
Right.
Their obligation was whether they did the immediate disclosure request.
Okay.
We were just handling the appeal of the substantive issue of whether the department properly withheld records. So we weren't dealing with the IDR.
And Member Hyland, you know well the difference between an IDR and a petition to the supervisor of records. Different sections, different...
Fair enough. But what we're saying is we're not reinventing the charter or the code. We're not. We're just again emphasizing that you have procedures in place to handle that request as well.
If we need to change the 10 days, we need to pass a new ordinance. What I would really look unfavorably is to overturn and change the 10 days with internal regulations.
So let me speak to that for a moment, if I might. I don't think this committee is certainly not revisiting the decision of the full task force, so we're not overturning that, right. Nor are we, massively reinterpreting 10 days to mean 10 years. That's not happening here. Right. I think the question that's still out there, and I understand that you're a lawyer, correct?
Right.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That there are laws that are mandatory and have consequences if they're not carried out, and then there are laws that are mandatory but don't have particular consequences, and as I understand as a non-lawyer, those are called directory,
Well,
right?
in this case, it's not the case, and that
Okay.
was already discussed in the last time.
Okay.
The ordinance have 316 times said the word shall.
Yeah, no,
68 may. If they are no mandatory, discretionary, then any part of the ordinance is discretionary.
well,
So, and then if the 10 days are not mandatory, then what is going to be the term? 63, 55, 350. So there is no reason. If there is a problem about budgeting and lack of personnel, then we have to address the other one. But that's not for the commission. It's for the city of San Francisco.
I understand, and
But
I'm not-
What I really believe the ordinance is mandatory, and the shall term was already decided last time. The shall term is mandatory. The ordinance have several times used the word may.
no, believe me,
That is perfect.
I understand. I was
and
just...
to imply that some part or some manager, some city official can discretionarily change that, and is now subject to the mandate of the law, that would be a little bit a stretch.
I understand. I also am bearing in mind that this task force is supposed to hear matters within 45 days, and we haven't been able to do that for a variety of reasons for some period of time. There was discussion about whether or not that's actually required, what the consequences are, et cetera. I don't think that we're questioning that an immediate disclosure request has to be responded to by the close of business of the next business day, or that there's a 10-day requirement here. I think the question that was asked really suggested to me that there may be circumstances where 10 days isn't enough because of the complicated nature of a matter, not because the person is working part-time or because it's not a high priority. I think these matters are a high priority. The city attorney does not get very many petitions in their capacity as supervisor of records, and they do attend to them diligently, in my experience. It's merely a question of whether 10 days is sufficient on particular facts. Where there's a complicated matter, it seems to me like it might take more than 10 days. But whatever, we're not debating that right now.
That was already decided.
I understand. And so...
And as an attorney, I think the city of San Francisco would benefit greatly if the officials of the city of San Francisco are subject to the law. And basically, the 45 days should be statutory, mandatory, and even though nothing happens if that is not complied with. And mainly, the city attorney and supervisor of records should be subject to the law.
Understood.
So what you're doing is creating a privilege which is not really democratic if trying to interpret this in a manner where it's going to be very flexible.
I'm not suggesting any more flexibility than is required. Okay, thank you.
I just have one thing.
Yeah, in the mic?
These are both of them. I mean, Mr. Ferrer, I hear where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I agree with you. I voted for you. But this part that sticks on me is, I believe this is Matt Dorsey's letter from the city attorney, and Matt's not a lawyer, but I think the lawyer probably wrote this. And, there's item 3, it says the 10-day period is an important goal, but not an absolute requirement. And the part that stuck out on me is 10-day provision must be understood in the real-world context. Unfortunately, I too operate in the real world, so I kind of see where this happens.
Do you know my reply to that? When have the city attorney asked for more people or have told us that they had a problem complying with the 10 days?
Oh, I know, I hear you. And
never. So
yeah.
it's like, and taking the law lightly is really, 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 really risky, because the government officials should be the one most subject to the law.
I know.
Because we rely on government officials to exercise our rights. Making the government official duty flexible means lack of accountability and allowing a lot of gerrymandering behind.
No, I get it.
So that's why I'm tremendously concerned about how this case is handled and the consequence in the future. I don't know. I don't think that any government official should be exempt from the laws and should be interpreting their case as flexible and discretionary. Because April 15, we have to pay taxes. If we pay them April 16, we have penalties. If
Well, we file an extension.
Well, but if the citizens are subject to that strictness,
I'm going to go with your metaphor there. I'm going to cut you off. I mean, yes, I was late on my taxes about 4 years ago. I filed an extension because the real world of a crappy divorce got in the way.
But the law doesn't that provides for an extension. Over here, the law doesn't provide for an extension.
Well, that's kind of what we're here for.
Well, we can change the ordinance.
Thanks.
I think we hear your point about strict construction. We understand that there are issues with the ordinance, and changing it requires a change and a vote of the people. Member David, do you have anything further right now? Why don't we, unless we have anything else, why don't we go to public comment? Is there general public comment on, is there public comment on this particular item?
Good afternoon, Thomas Piccirillo. I'm troubled by the questions you're asking the complainant. He's the one that prevailed at the full task force. The full task force finding was that 10 days is mandatory and not discretionary. So now you're trying to convince him otherwise. And you're also given a message to the city attorney that they don't have to comply in 10 days. That's totally opposite of the orders of determination. Secondly, I appreciate the apology that the deputy city attorney rendered to the task force. Hopefully she made the same apology to the complainant who had to wait 2 months to get what he was seeking. There was a comment by the chair of this committee that he did not have to, he can't tell city attorney what to do. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. There was an order of determination, and you're supposed to educate city departments that violate the Sunshine Ordinance how to comply. So you are supposed to tell them what to do. That's why there was a hearing at the Sunshine Task Force. City departments need to be educated and told what to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment on this item? Is there any? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Just trying to see where we go with this. Ms. Jessen, do you want to come back up? First of all, do you have any comment on the question of the 10-day deadline?
No, I believe we've covered it in our responses, and actually I have just a small footnote. I'm afraid I misled somewhat when I said I'm part-time. I work part of the year, not a part of the year. So when I'm here, I work full-time. So I don't want to suggest that
when you're here, you're here.
When I'm
when
here,
you're
I'm
not.
really here. So I don't want to suggest that the delay was because of that. But no, I feel like we've covered the arguments, and I don't have anything to add to what we submitted before.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ferrer. I think we're good. Member Highland made a suggestion. We can formalize that as a request. Do you think that you'd be able to respond back at some point to this committee? In writing with procedures.
Yeah, I will take that back to my people, and we'll be happy to let you know. If we do something, we'll provide you with a copy of the protocols if I get the okay to do that.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay, I'm not sure that we need to, we can talk about whether or not to continue it. I'm not sure that we need to continue the matter. I think we could simply receive the procedures, assuming that they're able to do that, but I'm open to other options. One second. Member Highland?
It would be just nice to conclude this at this point, and
right.
We've got a very nice apology, but that's all we've got at this point. I don't really sense any true cooperation on the part of the city's attorney's office on this matter. They've stated their position, and they're not changing it, and we're advising otherwise, as provided by our order of determination. Do you guys see it differently?
So I remember the order of determination slightly differently than some other members do. What I remember the order of determination being a combination of two bodies of thought. There was a body of thought that there was a strict 10-day rule. The answer absolutely had to be in by 10-day. And then there was other people, of which I was included, that I believe I voted to find the city attorney in violation. And my reasoning was because there was a lack of communication within the time frame to say that, hey, this is going to take more time. So I'm sorry. So I think that there was two bodies of thoughts going on at that time. So I just want to be clear that I don't think that it was as universal black and white that's saying that that the whole task force felt that it was that 10-day, that the problem was that it wasn't within 10 days. I think that there was also people on the task force who felt that there was no communication about the fact that it was going to take longer. So what I would be interested in saying is let's continue this to the call of the chair, to when we see in writing from the city attorney what we're asking for, and that upon receiving in writing, at that point the case can be dismissed. So that would be my suggestion.
Given Ms. Jesson's part-time work status, I'm not sure if you're using that word correctly, could we set a date for that? Would that be wise? Ms. Jessen, when what times of the year do you work? From when to when? Like what months?
I will be here until the end of June.
Of June. Could we expect a response by then?
But somebody else will be here when I'm not here. End of June is perfectly fine. I'm sure we can answer well before then.
Okay, I think that'd be great.
Okay. And in fact, if we receive something within 3 weeks or so, if there's a need to recalendar it for June, we could have it back here in June, and we'll see based on the timing. Obviously, Ms. Jessen has to check with her people, and that's fair. Okay, so...
Continue?
Yeah, I saw Mr. Ferrer wanting to say something. Why don't we give him one last opportunity, and then
What I would like is that you set a date for compliance with your requirement, so we can all be informed what next steps are going to be. Because I think that giving an open-ended, again, opportunity to the city attorney is not fair.
Thanks.
I agree. June 30th?
Right. Okay, so why don't we make a request to receive a response from the supervisor of records as to procedures by June 30th. Sooner would be better, but that's our request. And with that understanding, then the motion, which will be separate, is to continue this matter to the call of the chair. Yes?
So moved.
All right. Who wants the motion? Member Oka?
Aye.
All right. Who wants the second?
Second? Yeah.
Member Highland. Nice try, Member David. Close. All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any objection to the motion? Seeing none, we'll take the motion without objection. Okay. So the motion is passed without objection. Everyone clear? Are we good? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to reviewing that. And thank you, Mr. Ferrer, for bringing the matter to us.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Jessen. Let's go on to item number 3, excuse me.
Item number 3, file number 14045, hearing, San Francisco Arts Commission, review of policies and procedures related to the public meetings and records.
Great. So this was something that I thought of about a month and a half ago, since we've gotten a number of complaints from Ms. Datesh and others related to the Arts Commission, unrelated to any particular complaint. I thought it would be a good use of our time to talk about the policies and procedures that the Arts Commission has for public meetings and records, to sort of give a bit of an overview and go through some specifics. If members of the public have specifics that they want to call up, we've got the computer, we can look to what's there. I spoke briefly to Ms. Patterson-Murphy about this some time back. If you'd like to provide an opening, And I see Mr. Lazar and Ms. Page Ritchie, who we might hear from. No particular order. I think if you can touch on sort of meetings, what all these various bodies are that the Arts Commission and its committees has, how that sort of works.
Sure.
And then the log and how public records requests are handled, et cetera. Victor? I think she needs the overhead.
Thank you.
Okay, does that work?
Yes.
Okay,
So
and then we'll hear from the public shortly. Okay, and let's be clear, this is not on a specific complaint. The complaints that we heard at the full task force a week and a half ago from Ms. Datesh were referred to the Compliance and Amendments Committee, so this is not on any specific complaint. This is on sort of the broad overview of how things work. Everyone clear on that? We good? Okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Kate Patterson-Murphy. I'm the Director of Communications for the San Francisco Arts Commission, and in preparation for this meeting, I had sent an email to Victor, which I hope you all have a copy of, with an outline of the areas that we plan to cover, and I'm here today with my colleagues, the Street Arts Licensing Program Director, Howard Lazar, and the Commission Secretary, Sharon Page Ritchie, as well as the Alyssa Lucurius, who is the Program Associate for the Street Artists Licensing Program. So I hope that between all four of us, we can answer all your questions. So I thought that in light of the last hearing, it would be a good idea to start with an overview of the Arts Commission, because while we're a relatively small agency, we do have a number of distinct programs, all of which have a committee that oversees their work. So I'm just going to call your attention to our agency fact sheet, which was submitted to you in the information I sent in advance. So I'm not going to read this word for word, but it does provide a description of the various programs. And Victor, if you wouldn't mind, can we go back to the screenshot you had there? Because then I'll just go, oh, no, yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay. So, okay. So I'm just going to actually use what's on your screen now, which is when people go to access meetings and agendas, they get a full list of our committees. So we have the Full Arts Commission. That is a body which is appointed by the mayor, and the Full Arts Commission meets the first Monday of the month. And the staff person responsible for posting agendas and minutes for the Full Arts Commission is our Commission Secretary, Sharon Page Ritchie. Civic Design Review is a committee which oversees the Civic Design Program. And what that program does is basically any capital project that is happening or about to happen in the city goes through a design review. Whereby members of the commission, most of whom work within an architecture field or who are working fine artists, evaluate those designs to make sure that they meet certain criteria with regard to aesthetics and also sustainability. So the Civic Design Review Committee basically reviews architectural plans and approves projects to move forward in development. And so that's civic design. So the person responsible for posting the agendas and minutes for the Civic Design Review Committee is, again, Commission Secretary Sharon Page Ritchie. Community Arts Education and Grants Committee. That committee oversees the work of two programs, the Community Arts and Education Program and the Cultural Equity Grants Program. And those two programs have recently been combined into one program called Community Investments. And essentially the work of those programs include, like I said, Cultural Equity Grants, which awards grants to artists and nonprofit arts organizations. And then they do a number of other arts and community-related work, such as art in storefronts, or I don't know if you've been to the Third on Third event in the Bayview. So things like that. Those programs are overseen by now what is called community investments. And so that committee is managed by two program staff people who, not Sharon Page Ritchie, who post the meetings, the minutes and agendas, and And so those are not under her responsibility. And
Sorry, and just to clarify, that's both the agendas and the minutes?
Agendas and the minutes, yes.
Okay, and they actually staff that body, so Ms. Patrici does not attend those meetings generally?
No, she does not. They
Okay.
staff that body, correct, yes.
But it is a committee of the commission, so it's composed of commission members of the
It is. All of the committees are composed of commission members, all of them. Okay, so the executive committee, again, composed
Not the
of...
street artists. Okay, whatever. We'll get
I'm going to
that.
skip
Keep
over
going.
street artists and let Howard
That's fine.
go into street artists. But
Okay.
the executive committee meets also once a month, and Sharon Patrici is responsible for those minutes and agendas. And the executive committee deals with sort of, all of the financing for the commission, sort of more in-depth, high-level management issues and whatnot. It's sort of like the working committee for the full Arts Commission. Okay, so then I'm going to skip over street arts. So Visual Arts Committee, that committee is responsible for overseeing the public art program and any public artwork that's installed on public property. And so those minutes and agendas are managed by, again, the two individuals who are in the public art program, Zoe Teleporos and Jennifer Doyle Crane. They kind of tag team on it. And they, again, are responsible for both minutes and agendas. So those are the core committees, which include members of the commission. Howard will talk about the other committees that are, the Street Arts Licensing Program Committee also includes commissioners, but then there are a few others that are listed there. There's no Performing Arts Committee. I'm not sure why that's there.
Can you go down to see if there's anything further on that?
That's
Victor?
it. Those are all the programs. I just went through all the programs.
Got it.
So, yeah, I don't know what the Performing Arts Committee is, so
Apparently
maybe
it's not
Sharon
performing
can.
very much.
Yeah, but Sharon can maybe speak to why that's there. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a better sense of all of the committees we manage, all the minutes and agendas we manage. And all of the staff has had sunshine training from the city attorney, who comes in every once in a while to give the training. And anyone responsible for the agendas and minutes is versed in how to post minutes and agendas. And to preempt a question that might come later that was brought up during the previous case is that we actually do have a manual. It's a communications manual in there. There's a whole sunshine section. And we have a number of places where procedures for posting minutes and agendas and timelines is readily available in the event that someone is not there to perform his or her duties. So while my primary role is director of communications, I am also sort of the custodian of records, or the sunshine manager. And basically what I do is sort of keep a bird's eye view on all the requests that come in and make sure that all of our responses happen in a timely fashion within the deadline, and also consult with other staff people who do receive sunshine requests to make sure that we're compliant. For the most part, the lion's share, the vast majority of those requests come directly to Howard, and he, it requires little involvement on my part, but I generally kind of keep tabs and keep track. And in working together with my colleagues, we have started to. And also, just based on sort of the recommendations and the earlier findings from this committee, we have started the Sunshine Log, which you all should have a copy of. It's basically an Excel document like this. And
it's our eye test. Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But as you can see, it's a pretty lengthy document that continues to grow. And it basically, this is how we keep track of all the requests that come in and an estimated timeline of how long it takes for us to fulfill those requests and whether or not, and the subject matter of those requests. And then we do also keep records of our correspondence either in our email folders or also in a folder on our shared drive that is basically, things that we send out as part of our package. We also have just kind of like a hard copy so that we can reference it later on. So everyone who gets a sunshine request is reminded and required to enter that information into the log. And then, since it came up last time, and I sent an image shot for you, but I failed to print it out, so I can't put it on the overhead, so I apologize for that. But everyone...
It's in the packet.
Yeah, everyone in the office, when they're out on vacation, is required to designate a colleague to be a respondent while they're out. And that is indicated in there. Yes, there's Member Pilpel's holding up the example I provided, which is actually the example that Mr. Lazar set up in his absence, which was discussed at the last hearing. So we all do this. And in addition to that, on our outgoing voicemail, we also have a contact information for a designated respondent that is a colleague. So that is our procedure for the most part. I believe we follow through with that. I don't know of any instance where someone is not able to reach someone. And in addition to that, all of our contact information is on the website. So there are lots of ways to reach us. So with that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Howard to sort of go through his program and the various committees. And in the meantime, do you have any questions for me?
Probably at the end. Why don't
Okay.
we hold those? But thank you. Good.
Oh, I'm
good
sorry.
Overview.
I forgot to mention that I did also include the bylaws for the various committees. I don't think it's worth our time to go into those, but those are there for your reference. And I also failed to mention that a couple years ago, we just adopted uniform procedures for recording minutes at meetings and posting agendas and making audio recordings. So everyone follows the same procedure. We all do audio recordings for every meeting, and those are posted online, usually in a timely fashion, sometimes not, but usually in a timely fashion, as well as minutes and agendas. So our procedures are uniform across the agency.
Okay, and just one follow-up on that. As to the recordings, you're now all on digital recordings.
They're all
there are no
digital.
tapes. So we have old tapes, but anything that's recent, it's a digital recording.
It's all digital now.
And if anyone wants an MP3 of something or other, you can always burn that to a CD. Blah,
Absolutely,
blah, blah. But all
we
of
do
it is,
regularly.
But all
Mhm.
of that is online pretty much anyway?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll have further questions
Okay.
at the end. Mr. Lazar, welcome back.
Thank you, members, for this opportunity. I'm Howard Lazar, Street Artist Program Director for the Arts Commission. And I believe Kate sent you a copy of my Blue Book, the 200-page manual geared up to a newcomer coming into the program on what to expect through the licensing procedure, the screening procedure to get the license, how to obtain a space on the streets through our lottery system, various chapters dealing with hearings that we may have on alleged violations, and so on and so forth in that large manual. Half the manual is comprised of the laws themselves that we're under, including the resolutions for all the street artist spaces, and there are maps in there as well. And then mention is made of the Sunshine Log. The Street Artist Committees, there are 3 of them. The first one is the Street Artist Committee, which Kate mentioned, and that's made up of 5 arts commissioners. That committee was established by the Art Commission in 1976. And that committee basically reviews pretty much all of the issues of the street artist program. It could be, for example, a hearing on requests from street artists or from me to obtain sales spaces, more sales spaces for the artists on the streets. It could be a hearing on alleged violations, whereby that committee would have to determine A, whether the violation had occurred, and B, what the suspension or revocation penalty should be. That committee deals with other issues of the program quite often. The third committee, which is the Lottery Committee, and as I mentioned to you previously, that is an ad hoc committee, and from time to time that committee will bring forward recommendations to give to me, to give to the Street Artists Committee, and these would be recommendations primarily dealing with changes in the lottery rules or lottery procedures. And so that's what the Street Artists Committee does. Now, excuse me, the Advisory Committee, that's short for the Advisory Committee of Street Artists and Crafts Examiners. That's the official title spelled out in the Street Artist Ordinance that was passed by the voters in 1975. That is the committee that if you were an applicant for a permit, you would be scheduled by my assistant for a screening. That is to say that you would come in and show the committee, they meet once a month, to review the wares of all the applicants who have signed up previously for that month. You would show that committee samples of your arts and crafts. At least a dozen finished samples, at least half a dozen unfinished samples. You would be required to produce your raw materials, your tools that you use. You would be required to show receipts for the materials that you use. And then, in almost all instances, you would be required to sit down and start making a portion of an item, a significant portion of an item. And so that's the Advisory Committee. And basically, they are giving their recommendation to the director of the Arts Commission that this person should be licensed or should not be licensed. I act on behalf of the director of the Arts Commission, so they're giving their recommendation to me. Quite often, what's very interesting is that committee may not be 100% in agreement over a particular artist. For example, they may feel that you are not either predominantly creating the item or that you're not significantly altering the form of the item. And they could be split, and so they have to call for a vote to see whether or not you would pass. If you don't pass, they would ask you to come back the following month to show your work again with a little more improvement. So that's the Advisory Committee of Street Artists and Crafts Examiners. I also want to mention that I frequently assign them duties to go out on the street on inspection duty, similar to what I do, only we prefer to use them mainly on weekends when I'm not around, to go and check on the artists' booths to make sure that they are selling ostensibly what they were approved to sell. And what better persons to do this would be the committee that saw the work initially. And they will go out if they feel there's a problem with someone's work. They write it up in notes sent to me. They can say, we want a rescreening of this person, or we may want to do a studio visit on that person. And a studio visit that's built into the Street Artist Ordinance also, and that is when one or more of the members are assigned to go to the artist's studio for the purpose of further verification that the artist is making the art and craft he or she is selling. So that's the Advisory Committee. And then finally, as I mentioned...
And I'm sorry, all of those things I'm sure have come up over the last 40 years of the program.
What do you mean have come up?
As to whether or not a ware is actually made, substantially altered, having to do studio visits,
as recently as a few weeks ago at our typical screening, absolutely. So, and then finally the Lottery Committee, which I previously mentioned, and I can't say this often enough, but Lottery Committee is not spelled out in the law. Lottery System is spelled out in the law, and the Art Commission is charged with establishing and managing the lottery system. It so happens that the artists themselves wanted a lottery committee chosen by lot among the artists who wanted to be on that committee, and the Art Commission says, okay, you can have the Lottery Committee. So that's how that is. Now, procedures for posting of minutes and agendas. As was mentioned previously, we're no different than the other committees. The Lottery Committee doesn't record their meeting. Again, that's an ad hoc committee. So on this part of my speech, please consider only the first two committees. The Arts Commission Street Artists Committee, made up of the 5 commissioners, yes, we digitally record that meeting. The Advisory Committee screenings or examinations, yes, we digitally record those meetings. The minutes, the minutes of the Street Artists Committee are taken by my assistant, Ms. Alyssa Licouras. She writes a draft for me. I review the draft. I add, put in things, fix things that I feel need to be communicated in a better fashion. And then she posts them. And we both co-sign those minutes, by the way. And she posts them. Now, we understand that she has 10 days to do it. We try to do it in 3 days. And I think we have a pretty good record in doing that. The agenda, we understand, has to go out in 72 hours. We try, out of respect to the street artists and everybody, the public in general, we try to do that at least a week in advance of our meetings. And I think we have a good record at doing that. So that is in that respect. Our minutes, the advisory committee's minutes are taken by one of the members of the advisory committee itself. Nevertheless, we post them. Now, we have listed here a review of last week's issue that came up before the full task force on whether or not the lottery committee had posted an agenda, and I was accused of not posting agendas of the lottery committees. What was shown to you, as I had mentioned last week, was just a smidgen of that whole agenda. I mean, it was cut off in the margins, as I mentioned. Here is the agenda, the full agenda. It is not the agenda of the lottery committee. It is the agenda of the program director. That's me.
Can you put that up? 'Cause
Certainly.
I don't think we have that in the packet.
Okay. What do I? Yeah, there it is.
Can you start at the top?
How do we? Okay. So.
Sorry, can you start at the top there?
Yeah. So it says clearly,
That's what I'm looking for.
there you go.
Okay.
Program director hearing. I get to act as program director in my program. Program director hearing on dismissal of lottery committee member and request for consideration of reinstatement to lottery committee. So as you see clearly, and this was the agenda of August 22nd, 2013,
Okay.
that had been shown you in its brevity without the full title being shown to you.
Can
So
we
I
see the
want
bottom
that-
of this?
Pardon me?
Can we see the bottom of this? Keep up. Thank you.
Oh.
Adjournment. Okay. So it was simply, and it's referenced.
It
to
was,
notice
it
of
was me
dismissal
acting as program director, as I do.
and administrative hearing of some sort.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
And which are public hearings, but it did not come from the lottery committee. And I
Okay.
want to make that clear.
And sorry, just to
Yeah.
follow up here, on Kate's outline, it makes reference to an email sent May 7th at approximately 9:42 a.m., which was the same time this thing was sent. Was there actually an email that was covering this that was supposed to be sent to us?
I believe, hold on. Yes. It was sent by me to Mr. Young and task force members May 7th, 9:39 a.m.
Okay.
And there was pretty much what I just got through telling you.
Understood. All right, one second.
Yeah.
Victor, do we have that in a different file?
Here it is, right here.
Was it in reference to one of Ms. Detesh's complaints?
It would have been in reference to that hearing.
Okay. Because I don't think we got that in our packet today, and I was actually
Okay.
interested. Anybody care? Yeah.
But I remember at
Okay.
that hearing, several of you had
Okay.
expressed an interest.
Oh, just to Mr. Young's defense, I don't think it was clear that it was necessarily going to be discussed at
Got it.
this. Yeah. So I mean, if it wasn't part of this, I don't think that
That's
his
fine.
fault.
If we can just be sure that that gets distributed, at least to the members of this committee, Victor.
You have it now, so. yeah.
Okay, Was that an extra copy for us?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently it now is. Okay. So we'll get copies of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think if you had anything further, I'm not cutting off.
I think that's it, and when we're all finished, welcome your questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will have questions. Thank you. Member David has a question right now.
I'm just curious, roughly how many people participate in the street artist program? How many street artists do you have?
At present, we have 368 artists.
368
Yeah.
artists. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. More questions in a bit. Ms. Paige Ritchie, welcome. It's been a while.
It has been. Thank you. My name is Sharon Paige Ritchie. I'm the Commission Secretary for the Arts Commission. So, following my colleague Kate Patterson Murphy's agenda here,
Victor, can you go back to the? Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So I want to let you know the meetings that I'm responsible for.
There we go.
I divide my job generally into two areas of responsibility. Up until last autumn, it was 3 areas of responsibility. I am the Commission Secretary, which means I'm the liaison between the Commission and the Mayor's office, who appoints all of our 15 arts commissioners. I am responsible for posting the agendas and the minutes for the full commission meetings every month, for the executive committee meetings every month. And starting last year, I took on the responsibilities for the Civic Design Review Committee that had been held by another staff member who left about a little more than a year ago now. And we had a little bit of a transition with that. There's one person, my colleague, who is involved with actually managing that program. I'm the one who does the posting of the minutes and the agendas. She's the one who actually deals with the substance of the committee. The Civic Design Review Committee, by the way, deals with city construction. So anything from the general hospital to a small pump station somewhere out in
PUC land. Yes.
Right. I'm also the assistant to the Director of Cultural Affairs, Tom DeCaney, who is the head of the agency, the Arts Commission. Up until recently, I was also I had the responsibilities of being the office manager. That was not officially part of my title, but I was responsible for managing all of the copy machines and the printers and the ordering of supplies and all of those kinds of managing the office responsibilities. So I was very, very happy that we got an office manager who was dedicated to taking care of all of those things, dealing with IT and so on. She started late last summer, the beginning of the fall, and we've had some, transition with training her and passing responsibilities on to her. She's now, taken it and run with it. So I now only have the 3 committees that I'm responsible for, and the commission, and my work with the director. So, in terms of procedures for posting minutes, agendas, and audio, the full commission agenda is kind of the biggest piece, the biggest project. The full commission agenda incorporates, but as you heard, we have all of the committees that meet during the month. And at the end of the month, we have all of the actions taken by those committees. All of those actions need to be forwarded to the full commission for the full commission to vote on them in order for them to become effective. So we, over the course of several years, I've come up with a procedure to have all of my colleagues who are responsible for the Visual Arts Committee and the Community Arts Education and Grants Committee and the Street Artist Committee put all of their motions into a draft document, a Word document on our shared drive, and I create the full commission agenda from that and post that online and to the library and outside of our offices, as well as sending it to people who have expressed interest, and of course to the commissioners. excuse me, the Executive Committee and the Civic Design Review Committee are smaller agendas, and those, for the Executive Committee, because it deals with administrative matters having to do with the entire agency, with HR matters, with budget matters, with
Policies and procedures.
yeah, policies and procedures, those, and also with, sometimes we have some action that would ordinarily have gone to a committee, one of the other committees, that was not able to do so because of time, or because we were not able to meet a quorum for one of the committees. The Executive Committee can also hear matters that have to do with other committees. So I solicit from my colleagues, the entire agency, anybody who has material to go to the Executive Committee, and from that information, they send that directly to me, and I use that to draft and post the Executive Committee agenda. The Civic Design Review agenda, my colleague, who is the person who manages that, she gets the information from all of the various city departments who are building and want to build things for the city, and she collects all of those. Her deadline is 5 o'clock today, so tomorrow morning I'm going to start putting the agenda together for the next Civic Design Review meeting. After we hold the meetings, as Ms. Patterson-Murphy explained, we do digital audio recording of all of the meetings. So after all of these 3 meetings each month that we hold, it is my practice in general to post the audio by the end of the next day. Occasionally, I don't make that, but in general, my aim is to get the audio files posted up on the website by the end of the second day. We have been holding the Executive Committee meetings at noon, and there have been a few times recently when I've gotten the audio for that up by the end of at noon on Monday, and I've been able to get the audio up by the end of the day on Monday. So I make it a priority to get the audio up as quickly as I possibly can. Let's see. And for the minutes, I have had some challenges with managing to get all of the minutes done. I have to say I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist, and when I'm working on these minutes, I do think about the fact that this is a record for the city, and I try to make them as clear and as clear and to give a sense of what the dialogue was at the meeting. I think that and I've been trying to balance the issue of having them be timely with the issue of having them be complete. And so I'm now leaning much more towards the timeliness and much less towards the thorough completeness of them. So I want them to be correct.
Complete and concise tend to work against each other, and that's the problem. I totally get that.
So it is very much a priority for me to get these minutes up and posted. We are currently up to date with the full commission minutes. We are now currently up to date with the Civic Design Review minutes, and I have posted the most recent Executive Committee minutes. So I'm trying to now to get current and then go back and fill in the Executive Committee minutes that are late. We have also, for the first time, and hopefully for the last time, spent some money to hire a contractor to transcribe the audio from those Executive Committee minutes that are not posted yet. And basically what they did was just transcribe word for word what was in the audio. So I do need to go back and do a little bit of cleanup so that those are, so that they kind of make sense as a written document as opposed to just a literal translation, literal transcription. Let me see. We also, I don't know if you know about this, the Department of Technology, excuse me, a couple of months ago, came up with a wonderful new procedure for us for posting our minutes and agendas. We got
Wonderful, you mean a change to the content management system, which made it more difficult.
which made it different.
Yes.
I reserve judgment on whether it's more difficult. It's just different, but so there's a learning curve for that. We got very little notice about that. We got an email that was sent out on a Friday evening at something like 8 o'clock, 7:30 in the evening. So I came in on Monday morning and saw this email saying, we're changing the system. You're not going to be able to get into the system you've been using as of Tuesday. So I sent an email on Monday and said, so what's up with this? And I got a response back saying that the person was out of the office for the day. So Tuesday. So this meant that for the month that they were going through the transition, we needed to back up our timelines and send things a day, 24 hours early, so that they could be posted by the DT staff. We then they gave us the training, which covered a lot of material that we were not really using, and gave very little training on how to actually post the minutes and the agendas, which is a part that we were interested in. So we've had to do a certain amount of hunting and pecking and Googling and trying to figure out on our own how to make the new system work. I feel like we have a handle on that mostly now, but it was, there was a transitional process that took some time and added some to that process. So I think that covers everything that I had to say. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Great, thanks. And of course I do. So let's see, other members? So why don't I start with a couple of questions from you, and then maybe we can work backwards. Did Ms. Licouris have anything to add, or is she just joining us for the afternoon? Okay. And there's no one in the office, so, God forbid a street artist has an issue right now. Well, they'll hold it for a few minutes.
Coverage.
Oh, they have coverage.
Yes, they have coverage.
Yeah, but thanks. Okay, so just a thought on the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I very much understand getting the minutes right. Mm-hmm. I believe in that myself, and that leads to delays and some issues wherever I go. But I think the 10-day requirement on draft minutes is pretty straightforward, and what I would strongly recommend is when you've got these past things to deal with, to just produce a skeletal set of draft minutes that just show the time the thing started and ended, who was there, the actions taken, and you can just put like in a color or in brackets, to be filled in conversation, whatever, right? Because that's what you're actually getting from the transcript and filling that in. Right. But the actions taken, I think there really does need to be a set of draft minutes with the record of those actions within 10 days. And in fact, as you probably know, going forward, once you've got the agenda, you can sort of turn the agenda into draft minutes, right? And just sort of leave blank spaces for what the discussion was and what the vote was for things that need to come to a vote. So you know all of that.
Yeah.
And again, where there's a doubt as to getting it right, I would just get something up there that resembles reality, and then you can finish that later. And my opinion is that there's no deadline on approving minutes. You can be approving minutes now from a meeting 10 years ago. People don't like doing that, but in fact you can do that so long as you've got draft minutes up within 10 days that reflect what happened. I think you're in a better place. So that's just that.
Yeah, so that is exactly the approach that I'm taking. I mean, I have been working with the agendas to create the minutes, but I think that's exactly the approach that I'm going to be taking. Who was there, what time it started, what the actions were, when they left.
The absolute minimal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to say about notices, either notices of cancellation or amendments to the bylaws or rules of order, any other kinds of notices that you have to give as a commission secretary, anything there?
Well, in terms of notice of cancellation, I mean, we post a notice of cancellation as soon as we know that we're going to have to cancel the meeting.
To the library, on the website?
To the library, on the website, on the wall, in the display case.
And mail or email it out if time permits, et cetera.
Yes, if time permits. We had a case recently where we had, late last year, where we had to cancel a meeting because I got
The
phone
day
calls
of,
from
half an hour before.
Yeah, from the commissioner who was stuck on the bridge, and there was a day not long ago where we had like some huge 2.5-hour backup on the bridge, and she just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
That was our quorum. We canceled it, half an hour before the meeting because we knew that was as soon as we knew we were not going to be able to have a quorum.
Okay. I'm good if there are further questions on that. Otherwise, we're okay?
As far as I know.
And thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
We know that you're busy and trying to keep up and stay caught up with this stuff.
Thank you.
If there are any further questions, we'll come back to those.
right,
Let me,
thank you.
thank you. Let me go back to Mr. Lazar and then end with Ms. Patterson-Murphy. So on the committee list on the right here, I think I understand that you're the staff person, or you with Ms. Licouris, on the Street Artist Committee.
Correct.
Of the commission.
Correct.
And the advisory committee, a member of that committee actually takes the minutes, and those run through you before they get posted.
Right.
But both the agendas and those minutes are sort of your responsibility.
Yes, Ms. Licouris.
Okay,
Yeah.
and right.
Right.
But it's ultimately you, and that actually gets done on a timely basis.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then the last thing that I'm not clear about, can you help me with this? There's an indication here that there's a Street Artist Liaison Committee. What
That is
that?
a defunct committee.
Okay.
That was terminated on its own by the Art Commission. They basically gave it a sunset clause when they established it a few years ago.
Okay.
And it's no longer.
Okay. So, and maybe if I can just go to Ms. Page Ritchie. So on this list here, you don't have to come up there. You can hang out there. The Street Artist Liaison Committee, the Performing Arts Committee are both history. They're sort of past tense.
The Performing Arts Committee predates me, which is probably more than 10 years ago.
Okay. And the Nominating Committee meets on occasion?
Annually.
Once, and it's separate from the Executive Committee. And that then is the full list of committees, and this Arts Task Force was a separate thing that we did long ago, far away.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that 20 years ago?
No.
No.
That's been since I've been here.
Yeah, okay, all right. We occasionally do Arts Task Force. Okay, that's why it's on the list of things.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you. And then the so-called Lottery Committee is not on this list because there aren't agendas, there aren't minutes, it's not that thing. And by the way, it's not a committee, it's a system. Did I?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, it is a committee.
Hey,
but it's a
don't
system.
make it worse. All right.
Part of
And
the
then as for the Blue Book, that was referenced in the email,
Right.
was not provided to us, so I have not read the Blue Book yet, and I apologize for that. But
Oh,
one of these
okay.
days.
Yeah, but it was an attachment.
Yeah. I will find it
Okay,
at some point
sure.
when I'm having trouble sleeping. Okay. Was there anything else? No. Any members to Mr. Lazar? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Patterson-Murphy, then? I think I'm clear on the overview. And by the way, this is a very good outline.
Great.
The way you guys all well orchestrated. As custodian of records, you really are the primary person on records requests. So if someone sends a request to Ms. Page Ritchie, to Mr. Lazar, Mr. DeCaney, Ms. Krell, anybody in the agency, that ultimately should get to you.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think that we're such a small agency, and really the lion's share of the requests do go to Howard. So it doesn't make sense for us to put in another procedure or step.
So it's kind of decentralized. So
It's
if someone
decentralized,
gets
but
it-
I sort of keep tabs on it.
Okay, so if someone has a specific request about the Street Artist Program, they can go to Mr. Lazar, he'll log it and respond. If there's any issue that comes out of it, you'll be aware. If there's somebody that doesn't know where to go in the agency, they can certainly send it to you, and you'll find the place, and you're the point of contact for someone who doesn't know, or for a general agency request.
Right.
Right? Where are your annual reports for the last 5 years? Well, you would be the person to find
Yes.
them. Okay. So we're good with that. And the out of office, I think that made sense. If someone isn't there, it says who. If someone can't figure out what to do, there's only so much we can do to help people.
Exactly.
Okay. But that is an office procedure.
Yes.
Okay. And then further, and Member Heinlein may be interested in this, you mentioned that you've got written office procedures that in part deal with sunshine?
Yes.
Is that long and extensive or not so long? A few pages?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while, but
Okay.
I do know that we were all required to create what ostensibly is a handbook for our programs in the event that we leave or someone needs to fill in for us. And I know that in my
Or you
handbook,
go out on maternity or whatever happens.
exactly,
Yeah.
that it is addressed in there.
Yeah, okay. So, Member Highland, do you think we would be interested in their procedures as relates to Sunshine? Should we ask
It's
for
very
a copy of that?
basic. Like if you get a request, respond immediately, letting them know you've received the request. If you need an extension, invoke an extension,
Et cetera. All right, let me put it this way. I would be interested in reading that. So if you can forward
Sure.
that to Victor, not a problem. Member Highland, are you interested in that as well?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll distribute that to members of the committee. I don't know that we're going to have input on that right now, but just at least to see it. I think ultimately what we're trying to do perhaps is get sort of a model thing for a city department that others can obviously customize, but we say, how do you deal with an IDR? How do you deal with this? When are minutes supposed to be posted, et cetera? That should be pretty consistent across the board, and agencies shouldn't have to, they can customize for their own, but they shouldn't have to invent it from scratch.
Yeah,
And to the extent that you've got something.
Mine doesn't deal with minutes; it deals with IDRs. But Sharon, do you have something written up about how to the minute about in yours? Were you required to do like a?
As soon as I get caught up with my executive team.
Okay.
No, we've.
All of the people who are responsible for posting minutes and agendas, we have met and we've gone over the Good Government Guide, and so we've read through the sections there that talk about public meetings and minutes and agendas. I don't have a separate document other than the Good Government Guide that talks about how to do the minutes and the agendas. It's one of the things on my list of things to do,
Okay.
but I'm trying to get my executive committee.
When you get that created, that may include things about cancellation notices and what goes in the minutes and the timeliness and who refers what to who with all your committees and the back and forth as you create their commission agendas. It sounds like there's a process involved there,
Yeah.
and that maybe reducing that to writing would help. When you have that, if you could forward that to us as well,
Okay.
that would be interesting. And to Ms. Patterson-Murphy, the stuff that you have that already exists, if you can forward that through Victor, I think we'd be interested. And I'm not saying that we have any ideas to make it better, but if you're ever looking for that, feel free to ask. I think it's better for us to engage like this than to necessarily have to deal with things in the context of complaints. I think we prefer this approach where we can. Fair enough? Okay. Thank you very much. Unless there are further questions for staff, let's open it up to public comment and see where we go with that. Thank you. And thank you to Ms. Licouris. You've said a lot today. Never mind.
Wow, that was an hour-and-a-half presentation that was supposed to be 30 minutes. About 20 minutes of it was actually relevant to the meeting today. I just want to bring your attention to a number of things. The focus of the meeting today is the non-posting of 6 executive meeting minutes. There are actually 51 executive meeting minutes that have not posted, which you can find on the website. Here.
Victor?
And I have not, they're right on the website. Yeah.
Your assistant, Mr. Pitts, is helping with this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is not a unique occurrence. This is only the executive meeting. I have not bothered to bring up the other meetings, which go back years and years also. This is the first one. Second one of 2012. Here we go, 2011. You see the minutes, non-posting. Here is again 2011. Here's 2010. Here, non-posting of minutes, supporting documents, 2010. And as I said, at the hearing, the reason why the executive and full commission meetings are important is that this is taxpayers' money. They have a right to know as the meeting occurs, before and immediately after, where their tax money is going. These are huge grants. These are projects of sizable grants of money. Some of them were controversial. There was a Central Subway project. There was the Bernal Heights Library, as you know. People had a right to know what was going on, and unfortunately, your taxpayers have no clue, even to this day, what took place in those minutes. So the speech, well, it sounds very nice and sweet, and we can only really address the 6 non-executive meeting minutes. This is gone back for well over 10 years, and that's only the executive meeting. If you're going to look at the other meeting minutes, they have outright lied to you on many, many occasions. The street artist meeting minutes have been posted for months, 4 and 5 months. Excuse me, I'm speaking. That is an abridgment to my public comment. Now I'm speaking, you may have in your packet the 2012 Civil Grand Jury Report findings and recommendations, which have not been followed. Their website needed to be updated, and they found that in 2012. No money has been budgeted for its update and maintenance. Record keeping was found to be a serious issue, and the minutes fall into the category of record keeping. The street artist program was found to be mismanaged. This really hasn't changed. They called this practice of sandbagging, compiling a lot of irrelevant information, included a bit of relevant information to be a usual practice.
Could you conclude?
This continues to this day. Their meetings are a shambles. Last week I attended the Board of Craftsmen Examiners meetings. It was not chaired by Lazar, yet he ran it. He allowed 45 minutes for the first speaker, abridged the public comment, 10 minutes for the second, abridged his public comment. And I couldn't even comment on it because the motion was written so badly it was incomprehensible.
Thank you, Mr. Tesh. Thank you very much.
Included is
Thank you.
a shouting match.
We gave you some extra time. Thank you very much.
A shouting match again
Mr. Tesh.
over a simple address, which I add to the public record.
If we have questions for you, we'll follow up. Thank you. Is there further public comment on this item? Mr. Piccarello.
Thomas Piccarello. You know, although I do appreciate the presentations by the speakers, I don't think there was a nexus regarding what was supposed to be discussed on the item of the agenda. My recollection is that the last 5 years.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Okay.
Your recollection from the last 5 years?
Thank you. Was that, the Arts Commission has been the most on the agenda as a respondent. So obviously, not everything is as perfect as they presented this afternoon. You should have asked them more questions and looked at their track record in front of the full task force regarding violations of the Sunshine Ordinance. And perhaps that would have been more beneficial and educational to the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Mr. Pitts.
I appreciate the idea that you're going to have a hearing regarding things. I'm requesting that you do a hearing regarding the 12L laws. At this point, I'm just thinking there's an immunity that goes to these nonprofits who run the checks and balances of the city regarding information. I guess I'm a little disturbed in that it seems like part of this conversation, the legislation, like the media disclosure request, it's being negated as to what that says and how you're supposed to apply it. I mean, if you read it, it's very clear. If you want a waiver, you can give them a little extra time to make sure they have everything enrolled. But it's a little disturbing as to how you're going to negate some of the laws and regulations and then stick your I I'm looking at the file here. I figured, to me, it would have been better if you started with some questions and then hear their presentation, because how they audit street vendors, it's not under the purview. I just think that we're probably going a little too far off course with some of this. I'm just something is wrong here. Something is just very wrong. I think, and no matter what they come here and tell us, chances are the track record is going to be different. You know, people have been coming and making complaints. I mean, it would have been better if we could see what the record has been instead of what they pontificate it's going to be.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. On one of your points, Mr. Pitts, we have had previous hearings on 12L, and we will have further hearings on 12L before this committee. So back on the Arts Commission, I guess, why don't we go to Ms. Patterson-Murphy, and people should be thinking about how to resolve this matter, if we need to continue the hearing or if we're just going to close it, or whatever other options. I assume in your procedures that you're going to forward to us, you have something about how records requests generally are handled. I believe Mr. Lazar wrote up something in response to a previous request that I made that sort of described the log. So I guess what I'm looking for is something that says when we get an IDR, we do respond by the close of the next business day and either provide the documents if we have them, invoke an extension, indicate when somebody's going to be back, but at least that there is some response to an IDR, and as to a regular records request, that we do intend to respond in a timely basis.
I believe so.
cetera.
I mean,
I believe
so.
Somewhere?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I mean, it is basically like, yeah, I mean, it says if you get one, I mean, here you need to respond within this time frame. Yeah, I mean, yes, I believe it does. I just have to look. It's been a while.
That's fine, because others may expect perfection. I don't expect perfection. I just expect a reasonable attempt to try to get it right. So if you occasionally have something that goes wrong, obviously we hear about that, kind of in an amplified way. But if in the main you're responding, on a timely basis to things, I'm pretty okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think that I encourage this task force to look at the big picture. Out of roughly 400 licensed street artist program, you hear from 1 to 3 people all the time. And I think that regardless of whether or not we, get them the information right on time, I think if you look at our correspondence, we always try to get the information to them and are always courteous, despite the rancorous tone of much of the correspondence. I believe we deliver on what we're supposed to do and maintain transparency. So I just want to encourage you to keep that in perspective. I think that my sense is that there is a strong bias against the Arts Commission here, and I do think that we make our best effort to be responsive. So, yeah.
And just, sorry, before we go, on the website, I think Ms. Datesh still has some papers up there. And can we go back to the website? In addition to there it is. In addition to the agendas and the minutes on the main page of the Arts Commission, wherever that is there a tab somewhere, and I'm sorry I have not looked at that, is there a tab that talks about public records and how to submit a request, where to send it to, et cetera?
No.
Okay. I think that would be another recommendation from the committee, is to put that somewhere in an appropriate and prominent place, either in Contact Us or public information notices, something like that.
I'm just curious, does any other agency do that?
They do.
Okay.
It's inconsistent, but I think it's a good practice, just as we have all kinds of other sort of notices and things, so that when someone says, well, look, I want stuff from the Arts Commission and it's 3 a.m. and I don't know who, and Well, if you go to the page,
Okay,
and if it,
we can
you know,
do that.
if in
It's
some
very easy.
intuitive place, you know, not buried 3 levels down under civic design review, but somewhere that's like for more information about the agency, right? And that's where you might put your annual reports and other things. So, you know, just the general information. And if you want more, here's what you do: you send an email to whatever, and or call whoever, right? That's your opportunity to put it out there. And so.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
that's very easy
That's
for us to
doable?
do. I
Okay.
do, actually, since this is up, I just want you to, when you, on your own time, go to the street artists section of this part of the website. All of their minutes, meeting minutes are up to date, just for the record.
Okay.
Thanks.
And can you respond to the concern that we just heard about the executive committee not, or maybe Ms. Page Ritchie can, not the 2013 stuff that we'd already heard about in the context of a complaint, but the prior stuff, if there
Sure.
was stuff that
Yeah,
isn't
go
up?
ahead.
And for that matter, if there's anything else that you're aware of that's not up to date?
I think the executive committee is the only thing that's not up to date.
Okay.
Some of those, if we look at some of them, they were meetings that were canceled, and so there would be no minutes for the canceled meetings.
Is there a way that you could indicate better? I mean, we see here on the screen, for example, the March 12th meeting was canceled. Agenda, yes.
Yeah.
Minutes, no. Da-da-da. I think that's fairly clear.
Yeah,
but there
I
may
think,
be other ways for
if
you.
we look at the executive committee, I do have a backlog of executive committee minutes, which I'm very unhappy about, and which is a priority for me to address.
Okay.
If we look at the executive committee page.
Victor, can we go to executive committee? Yeah, okay.
Whoops.
That's where the office is. Come visit.
Yeah, so where the minutes are posted is separate. Can you go back to where you were before?
And it looked, and Ms.
I can-
Patterson
do you want
Murphy,
me
are you
to-
also noting there that there's some navigation issues on the left side there? When you go to a thing, when you hover there, what's coming up is not fully covering a thing and it's not indented. You see that? Yeah.
It was down earlier today, so maybe it's still.
Okay.
We were supposed to get a new website.
Did the funding from that come through from Coit?
Not yet, not yet.
Is that requested for next year?
It's requested every year and every year denied.
Denial isn't just a river in Egypt, you know.
That's right. So here, for example, the December 23rd, 2013 meeting was canceled, and it's noted there as having been canceled. And as far as the supporting documents, that supporting folder appeared with the new Drupal system, so it won't, there are no...
Old stuff won't have it.
Right, it won't,
Okay.
stuff won't have it.
Can we go back to 2012 or 2011 there? There it is. Okay, so that's showing 2012 agendas, but not minutes.
That's correct.
And those are,
Those are the ones that I'm working on.
in addition to the 2013 stuff, there's
Yes.
also 2012 and 2011
Yes.
stuff. Okay.
Yes.
So it's all part of the big backlog.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Except for the December 24th and the May 14th, which were canceled.
Yep. Okay.
So there is a big backlog, and that's what I'm working on. So I'm putting up skeleton minutes in the next, as quickly as I can get them up.
Got it. Okay, so I think to summarize, unless people want to do something different, the two requests that I think we're making are for and Ms. Patterson-Murphy, you're making a note, for the excerpts of the policies and procedurals that you have and any that get created or that other staff have relative to their program area that just relates to Sunshine, either public records or public meetings portion. If you can forward those excerpts to us. And I think from Ms. Paige Ritchie, if we can get a memo back at some point when you have an indication of both the 2013 minutes that are in process
Yes.
and the 2011-12 and anything else for that matter that you're aware of that you're delayed on, when you have a time frame for when you think that'll be completed, and then once that is completed, if you can let us know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Others can put pressure on you as to getting it done sooner rather than later. I'm just interested in when it gets done, whatever that is, to just let us know.
All right, I will do that.
And if anyone else here or listening or in the public has concerns about the timeliness of stuff, they can let either you or Ms. Patterson know if there's some other committee that's buried here that's got minutes from 2011 that aren't. And some of it may be content management, some of it may be staff change. Whatever the reason, we would like to get that fixed
Yes.
as soon as possible. I think we're all in agreement with that as a goal.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think those requests are clear. Is that all?
The one other thing that I would add is that if we go to this website is for the minutes and agendas. The Arts Commission has the agency website, and that does have contact information. So there's an About Us page that will tell you, how to get in touch with people about various different things that you want to know about. So
These two pieces are ultimately going to get pulled together in the new website update because you've got stuff here and stuff there, and
They do talk to each other. Well, actually, this doesn't talk to our website, but our website talks to the Minutes and Agendas website.
okay. Anyway, I think we understand that there are things that you want to fix, and right, this left now thing, for example, whatever.
So there's information about the programs, and then if you go to the About Us.
Left now?
Hmm?
Have you seen this thing on the left where they pull something down?
So I think that is an issue with the browser.
Yeah, you've got, all right.
Okay.
Anyway, you get it, and you're trying to fix these things.
Yes.
So we'll get some information back from you,
Yes.
from both of you on these things. Mr. Lazar, I'm sorry, I don't think we have any requests for you today. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, okay. We'll make up for it in the future. Okay, members, any other requests? Are we good? Does anyone feel a need to continue this matter, or can we put this to bed until sometime in the future if we need to do this again? I don't feel a great need to do this every year or every 6 months. I think when we need to do it, we will, when it becomes obvious. And if you can just communicate back those things to the committee that you have now and in the future as things become available, happy to hear from you. I think this is a good way to try to work.
By the way, the website is fine on Google Chrome browser, and just maybe an IE thing.
Okay, maybe our IE in the building is not.
I haven't checked Firefox yet. Nobody uses IE.
Can we blame it on Bill Gates? Never mind. Okay.
Oh, bye-bye.
Thank you very much. So we will take no action unless I hear a motion? Okay. So no action, matter concluded, but we will look for those things back in email. Great. Thank you very much, all four of you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay, so no action, matter concluded. We're good? Victor, when you're ready on item 4.
File number 14013, hearing. Time limits for public comment at public meetings.
Okay, so this was a request from member Oka from a few months back. We calendared this last month. Unfortunately, you weren't here with us, but you are now. We're here now. We included the court case, the Chafee versus City and County, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to present and see where we go with this.
Okay.
Member Oka.
Thank you. As you will recall, I brought this issue up I think 2 or 3 meetings ago, because we were constantly being told by a couple of members of the public that according to their reading of the ordinance, the public, has the right to determine how long they speak, up to 3 minutes. And upon reading the section 67.15C in a roundabout way, and I remember City Attorney, Deputy City Attorney Threet telling me that as a matter of policy, the city has given the chair of meetings the authority to set time limits on public comment according to the length of the agenda, how many people are in attendance, and so on and so forth. Knowing further that we cannot change the ordinance right now, it takes a charter amendment to change whatever it is, because it is in
Actually,
the city
just a vote
charter.
of the people. It's a vote of the people. It's not
Vote of the
the
people,
charter.
right.
Okay, keep going.
So, but I think we can go on record. I'd like us to go on record as favoring an announcement by chairs of commissions and boards that the public comment will be up to 3 minutes based upon so on and so forth. What I'm trying to do is make the constant reminder that seems to me only to happen at this task force meeting, that the public does not really have the right to set their own time limit up to 3 minutes. The way I read the ordinance, the chair does have the authority and the obligation based upon what the agenda schedule is to set the time limit. But I'd like to hear from the rest of the committee on how we should go about doing this.
Members?
So I feel like that this issue has been discussed and decided multiple times. And so I think the city attorney has been on record by saying that it's, up to the discretion of the chair that they can give up to 3 minutes, but they can also limit it to 2 minutes or less than 3 minutes. And so I'm not sure, unless it is voted on by the people to change it to make it very specifically that the public has a full 3 minutes and they can use that full 3 minutes. I'm not, I'm going to defer to the city attorney's interpretation of the law on this one. And I just, like I said, I feel like that this conversation has been had a number of times, and I don't really see the where we're going to come up with a different conclusion. That's my opinion.
Okay, I agree with some of that, but I think that I actually heard something a little different from Member Oka just now, that notwithstanding the language of the law, that we could encourage, probably not require, but encourage bodies to have standard language in their agendas that says more clearly that each member of the public will be, right now we say each member of the public will be allotted the same maximum number of minutes to speak on, as set by the chair at the beginning of each item, and excluding persons requested to make presentations. That we could encourage that language say up to 3 minutes at each meeting on each item, so that the expectations of the public are more clear than they are now within the existing law, not changing the existing law, but making more clear that discretion is with the chair, and that people should be prepared for up to 3 minutes.
Fair enough.
Is that what I heard? Is that?
That's the way I interpret it.
I think that's fine. I think that, if we start putting up to 3 minutes, or we ask people to put up to 3 minutes, we're going to be, that will be the expectation, is that people are like, oh, look, it says, and then we're going to get into a whole debate again around, I think a lot of times, this is just the way that when I've been to different committee or different commission meetings, depending on the number of public speakers, the chair decides on, whether they're going to give 3 minutes or 2 minutes. And generally those tend to be the two numbers that I see most likely. So, it seems, I don't know, I'm not sure how changing the wording, if we feel as a group that it will make the public clearer on the issue, I think it's fine. I'm not sure that it pragmatically makes any difference. So I don't know. It doesn't strike me as something that we necessarily need to weigh in on. But I'm not like, oh my God, we cannot weigh in on this. I'm struggling with what is the added value by changing the language.
Other members? Member Fisher? Not so much? Member Highland? I guess in summary, my thinking is I tend to agree as to the current law and whatever. I'm not sure that there's anything that we need to do about it right this moment. I'm thinking that at some point, just as I started on a path to try to clarify 12L and what that means, that we should also try to develop some guidance for city agencies about public meetings and records. So, for example, we could come up with a template agenda and minutes and say this is how we think, the minimum requirements should be. And I'm thinking in particular on this added language that's used as boilerplate for various boards and commissions, that those expectations of the public should be more clear and more uniform across the city. Some agencies have extensive things, and others are just like, here's the meeting, agenda, adjournment, that's it. No contact information, no public expectations, no nothing. And so I'm looking to better systematize that, and I don't think we're ready for that yet, but I will certainly bear this in mind when we get there. And so that would be my takeaway.
With the caveat that I want to be clear that the intention of all of what we do is not to abridge anybody's right to have their public comment heard. We're not going to make public comment such that people feel like they can't get what they need to say said within the time limit set by the body. I want to make sure that the public's right to comment is not abridged.
Yeah. Agreed and understood. Okay, any other member comment? I know Member Fisher has to leave in a second, so we're going to try to wrap up very quickly. Let's go to public comment. Is there public comment on this item? I don't think we're likely to take any action at this point.
Okay.
Well, I think for me, several things are that I think, I feel this hearing should have had something from the city attorney regarding your legislation. I think 6715, Part B, the last two paragraphs, the last 2 or 3 sentences. I think for me is what is reasonable and unreasonable time limits. I think those are some of the things that should have come out. I also think, is 30 seconds too long? Are 3 minutes too short? So those are some of the things that the city attorney should have weighed in on. And then I also think the court case that's in the packet, the city attorney should have had some type of legal opinion regarding those things. And I think the thing is your little section of up to 3 minutes, I think that's probably not the appropriate part. I think you should just make reference to San Francisco's Administrative Code 6715, Section C. That makes it much clearer. And then if you want to have some other link to, whatever you think is appropriate or not, on some levels, it's sort of troubling when you have a public body and our government create their own rules and regulations regarding open government, and public testimony is part of that open government, where I just think that we should not give them as much freedom to just say 30 seconds up to 3 minutes. And I think we need more conversation regarding as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Like 15 seconds for public comment, 3 minutes.
Can I ask you a question? I'm just curious, have you been at a public hearing where 30 seconds is all that was given for public comment?
Well, I think I'm being slightly facetious, but if I go to the if I go to the Shelter Monitoring Committee, they've allowed up to 1 minute. And 30 seconds, 1 minute, it just seems like there's no desire to hear what the citizens have to say.
Sure. No, I just because I was curious of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I am going to visit the Shelter Monitoring Committee in May and make a presentation in July at Bernice's request. So perhaps I will see you there. And I actually have been at public meetings where they have limited public comment to 1 minute.
I've seen that.
Even after people have been waiting for hours and hours on controversial topics. So yeah. I haven't yet seen 30 seconds, but
we
wait long enough.
Yeah,
we got it.
Without any regulation or limitations from a city attorney or anything, is there anything documented anywhere as to what the limits are?
I got it. We will come back to this topic at some point. This is not going away. Okay, thank you, Mr. Pitts. Mr. Piccarello, very briefly, if you might.
Yeah, I'll be brief. You spent almost an hour with the Arts Commission, so minutes are tight. I appreciate Task Force Member Okra for raising the issue. There is a District Court of Appeals case to say that city departments, city agencies aren't mandated for 3 minutes if there's reasonable restrictions. But as task force members, you could educate the city departments and city agencies as to what is reasonable restrictions, what factors that they can use as to cut it from 3 minutes to 1 minute. And then I'll incorporate my public comment on the next item on the agenda here, because time is of the essence. I'm troubled that you didn't put the Budget and Finance Committee back on your agenda. It would have segued perfectly with this item 4. Public comment. The order of determination, the Budget and Finance Committee. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm listening.
The Budget and Finance Committee violated the Sunshine Ordinance by giving everybody a 1 minute It's 12 o'clock at night, and then cutting off public comment for the next 2 weeks when billions of dollars are discussed. That item, the order of determination should have been heard tonight, or this afternoon, with item 4. I know you're going in front of the supervisors this week to get reappointed. Hopefully that's not the reason that now the Budget and Finance Committee this year will continue violating the Sunshine Ordinance. They will allow 1 minute for the members of the public to speak on their budget, and they will cut you off. They will not allow you for the 2 following weeks to discuss city department budgets. So you shirked your responsibility and the duties you had on the orders of determination, and you didn't get any commitments by the Budget and Finance Committee this year to change their procedures, allowing greater public comment on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to follow up very briefly, we did talk about that here last month. We continued it to our August meeting, and I have spoken to Ms. Stephanie a couple of times, and I'm waiting for a memo back from her on whatever procedures they're going to use this year and what we think about them. So that is still in the works, and the ball is in Ms. Stephanie's court.
The budget hearings are over next month.
I understand,
Yeah.
but that's what we decided to do last month of this committee. Okay, is there anything further on item 4? I don't think we're going to take any action on this, Member Oka, but we held the hearing, and we'll, continue to bear these things in mind, perhaps as factors in the future. All right, so no action, matter concluded. And let's go on to item 5 very quickly.
I assume that is with no objection?
Sorry?
I assume that is with no objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
Item number 5, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Is there any general public comment at this time? Hearing none. Moving on, item 6.
Item number 6, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
I have none right now. I will be figuring out the agenda for next month, in part based on membership and what, a lot can happen in the.
How this committee looks next month.
Yes, it might look better. Who knows if we can remind. Yeah. Okay. So nothing on this item at this time. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none. That's it. We're adjourned at 5:03. Our next regular meeting is Monday, June.
Who wants to switch to commendance?
Monday, June, what, something?
That'd be June 9th.
Monday, June 9th. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.